So we've got our turret done on the chassis, pretty much everything detailed up apart from the things that are going to be added after paint. But before we do paint, we're going to want to get the wheel set done so they can all be painted at the same time. Once the main body's painted and the wheel set's done, it'll be a case of putting on the tracks. There'll be a few little mud guard bits to go over there as well. Then it's going to be the detailing and the weathering. But yeah, I think that turret's looking pretty good on there, some good detail. That's looking very nice actually, with the hatches all closed up. Got two little vents sort of open at the side, as well as that little door on the front. So we didn't bother opening up the main hatches, although there are details to go on the inside of the hatch doors, unless you're actually putting someone in there, as in standing up to lock the view in. It's going to be obvious that there's no basically nothing in there. So that's looking good. So now it's just going to be making up the wheel set. So on each side we've got 5 sets of main wheels, a sprocket, and yeah, basically do the same. Now we've got 2 sets of sprue G. Both have got 1 set of wheels on, and what they've basically done here is to do 1 mould of G, and you get 2 of them. And not only of the, so obviously a left side and a right side, they're the same, but also on this sprue you did have a few other things where there was bits in duplicate. For example, these little periscope covers, some of those little the protectors for the lights. So yeah, a few little duplicate sort of bits, and some of the detail things like fire extinguishers that will be going on there. But for now it's just going to be a case of taking the wheels off, little hubcap bits, and building them up. So I think the best and quickest way to do that is if I do that in fast time speed, as well as give it all a bit of a file, and then come back to you, slow things down again once we're ready to actually start getting the glue on it. I was going to say, you probably don't need to see me actually now sand the second pile, so I'll just turn the camera off and just quickly get on and get that finished sanded as well. Now have 2 piles of left side and a right side. It doesn't really make much difference which ones are which, but I've just kept them into 2 separate piles for now, just as I'm going through 1 from each sprue. So it's just going to be a case of putting them together. It looks pretty simple. It's just going to be putting the 2 parts each side together. Must admit, I haven't sort of kept track of which ones are like the G15, which ones are the G16, and which is the G3 and the G4s. So I'm hoping that once I get them together, I'll be able to work out which way around they're going to go. It should be quite simple, but it's just one of those things where I looked at, oh yeah, of course there's going to be a hubcap on one of them, so it would only slot on one way. I don't know why I even thought about that. But yeah, it's just going to be a case of getting these together now. So I think, yeah, just go through, put 1 pile on, and 1 pile together, and see how they come. Of course, I have given them a bit of a sand, but no doubt what will happen is once we get them a bit more together, it will then be a case of yeah, I'd like to want to give them an extra go over. So get these arranged, and they go back to backs. So first of all, actually, I was going to use the Tamiya Extra Thin. What I'm thinking of doing is use this stuff, as I say, kind of use it up, so to speak, because no one's going to be able to see these joins for now, because the two parts come together, so the join is right in there. So I think if I run a bead of glue, just check where that sits in on these. This is just probably going to be the quickest, most efficient way, so just work out where that little rim is. Just on the inside of each of those. Always put in a few drops of Tamiya Extra Thin later if I feel so. I do want to just weld it. So now each one's done, you can then just start back at this end, just give it a moment just to go tacky, and then just push together and done. Okay, so we've got the little hubcap actually to go on one side, but essentially that's just going to be those on, so that's quite quick and simple. Put the hubcaps on in a minute because they'll have to go on that side. I'll just let them just sit for a bit first. Let's come to these ones. So that is actually keyed. So I'll just go like so. And again, just in that little wedge there. So run it around. Say little of that, that's probably far too much. Let's pop that on there. Hopefully that won't squidge out. Too much is a little. Just whereabouts that little key was, that was a little bit just squidged out. So that's that one. Now these go back to these sprockets. Go back to back first. I cannot pick that up. Come on. There's no alignment tabs or anything on there. So for this. Actually, I didn't bother filing down the inside part. There's the little tabs that needed to be removed. You can just sort of see there that it does actually show you to remove them. I didn't bother filing down the sprue gate bits because I'd sort of thought when it's on the inside it's not going to be visible. However, I think it's just going to stop those two bits mating flush together. Never thought about that. In fact, the best way to do this is going to be to get a flatter stick. That will do. And then just give it a rub. Just to remove the any height from it. I'm going to use the Tamiya Extra Thin. This one, because I do want this to make sure this is a nice flush, solid fit. Two parts together. So it would have been nice if there was some sort of a rim or a ridge just to make sure that they go together square or round, as the case here. Just on that little there we are. So just whilst that's going off, we'll come back to these. Flip these over. Now these have got a little hexagonal recess in there, and then these have got a hexagon on the hexagonal key there. So actually, I could get a small block of that. that in. Okay, so now we've got our little hubcap nut on there, so that works to do the same. Only a small dot, so that's going to be needed. If we put in any more, it could start splurging out. Let those dry for a bit, come back to that, just checking around on the inside just to make sure there's no sort of visible lip which would indicate that one of those has been a bit offset. It should be the case of one drops in that side, one drops in. I did just notice now there is a key on here again, so we've got a little notch on that one, a little gap, so they will have to, when they go in, they will have to make sure they're aligned, so they should sort of connect either side. So for this, I shall, like these, run just a bead of glue just on this connector part where they're going to come together. Drop that on. Roughly lined up and then push. Okay, now that is loose. I don't know. No, let me. Yeah, actually, that's a bit too loose for my liking. Like that, and a dab more, just so that will drop on there. Now we have still got a bit of a gap. I don't know if you can see that there. Let's just check that's definitely in. That pushes over, and that is as I'm not missing anything, am I? No. What I think is maybe I shouldn't have glued those two parts. Okay. Right, what I'll do is I'm just going to push that to one side so it's actually against the side where when we're looking at it, so as we're going to see, we're not going to see the gap from how this is located. This does go on, no, that goes on the rear drive, of course it does, so it won't actually see that gap from this angle actually. So yeah, but what I will do when it's dry, I'm going to run, no I'm not actually, I've decided I'm going to take this apart, separate that, so now I've just glued it together. That is flat, maybe that is why there is no key on here to get these lined up. We'll try that again, but this time glue these to the wheel. So we'll glue that one onto there, and that way the gap will be between the, will actually be sandwiched in the middle of the two parts. Much maybe like how we have a gap running down in the middle of those. Again, assumed that it would all come together flush, because there is a little recess on these inside of these sprocket parts for that to go on. So let's try this. This will be the third time I put glue on this bit. It's already got white on there. So if I bring that together, like so, give it a squeeze. Okay, that's how we got it. That makes a lot more sense now I've done it. But now, yes, we have a gap, but I think that's the gap that's actually meant to be there. And we've got it now running down the middle. So before I will do that again. So that is one side. I'll leave those to dry, but I'll go straight away. I'm just going to do that again for this one, just so you can see that again. This time I'll get it a bit more accurate. So just make sure those are flat. Yeah, we're not actually mounting it directly onto there, so it doesn't actually probably need to be honest. But better braces, as I always say. So those parts are flat. Bead of glue just on here. Now this could be done with Tamiya extra thin, to be honest. It's just because this is the one that I've got in my hand. That's the other one I'm using. And yeah, there is a little lip, a little ridge for that to go on to make sure that's squared on there. Same again on here. It's not going to be a massively visible part of this, which is why I'm doing this, but I might still, with the wheels over the joins, run over some of the Tamiya extra thin anyway. And again, there's a little ridge that's going to sit on to make sure that goes absolutely central on there. And once we've done that, got that little keyed part there. So the little lip, run that around. A little bit of that there. That is keyed, so that will come together. It's up. There we go, and that just clicks into place. And again, we've got another gap in the middle. Now I thought it was a little bit odd. That gap's too big just for it to be tolerances, and it's obvious when you think about it, and those are separated. You just basically got a small part for the axle to go through, and it's only really the cogs that need to go out. So actually that's fine. So that's how to do those. Don't do as I started doing, which is to glue that part together. I mean, what they probably should do is try to indicate on a way. They have actually got an arrow there that shows that that bit goes against there. I think what they should do is perhaps, I've done those arrows so that that part goes against there, and move this arrow so instead of it, so it sort of shows that that goes against there, and then actually the arrows should sort of show that the middle bits join, not the insides of those cone sections. So I'll get on and get the rest of these wheel sets done. That was the most complicated part of it. Get that done, and then got the wheel set made up. Ready to get the primer on. What I have done is I have gone round and just done a little bit of masking. So essentially those side bits where the vents are, I've just basically squidged in a sausage of blue tack or white tack on each side. Not bothered masking up that vent at the back, the exhaust vent with a grill, purely because I'm not really going to get the angle to go in there over the grill anyway, so I think that should be fine as long as I just the angles that I spray in at should be okay. And on the bottom I've just put some masking over those bits. Actually that's whereabouts we've done the rusting on there. Haven't bothered with the side parts, which you can actually see in, purely because by the time the wheels go on there, you're not actually going to have any visibility directly in to see that area. But I thought where we have got those torsion bars and a bit of rusting, I will just put some masking tape just roughly over there. It's not perfectly done, but that should be fine. So that's really on the masking. Popped all the wheel sets and all the sprockets onto cocktail sticks, and and the skirt bits as well, and we've got the turret there as well. So for priming, I am going to be using this, which is the Mr. Hobby Mr. Surfacer, and this is the 1200. I've because I've actually got about halfway through this pot, I've actually topped up with some of the self-leveling thinner. So this is all sort of lacquer based. It is quite smelly, so I'll be getting the spray booth on in just a moment before I go. But I do find this gives a really nice and soft, soft, sort of really nice finish. But it's actually quite a good one for the MRPs to then stick on afterwards. I was finding that those MRP lacquer paints really weren't going down too well without a primer on there. So when doing some of those bits, but this is quite a nice primer. It's a micro filler as well, but yeah, so it just covers out any sort of scratches or anything. However, it is quite fine, and being about 50-50 mix with that thinner, it does actually give quite a nice smooth finish and still lets the details come through. So what we'll do is we'll switch over to the spray booth, and I'll get this turned on and then get all of this lot primed. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe, see how we get on with this one. If you do like it, genuinely do appreciate if you hit the like button. It's always really nice. If you don't like it, then please let me know why you don't like it. So for future models, future videos, I can actually try to improve to give you what you want. If you just don't like things and I don't know why, then it makes it a bit hard for me to improve to give you the content that you want to watch. So I've been Rob. Thanks for watching Rob Models. Let's get on, get this all painted, get the tracks on, and get this Cromwell getting done, because it's a really fun build, loads of detail, and I'm really pleased to see how it's going.